Assalamualaikum, I'm Saliza. My name is Mastura Harunisa binti Muhammad and my metric number is 2251380. So today I'm going to talk about the bright sparkles firework factory accidents. So first, let's understand what kind of industry we are talking about. So basically, manufacturing industry is basically an industry that produce products from raw materials. It can involve machines, chemicals, and other equipment as well. So, because all of these activities, there are also some safety risks for the workers. So, as we know, everything we do in our life, they must have their own risks. So first, let's focus on the firework manufacturing industry. Fireworks use chemical and explosive materials to create different colors, sounds, and also effect. So obviously, this industry has a high level of risk because the material itself can easily catch fire or explode. That's why, for our opinion, safety procedures are very important. So, what actually happened at Bright Sparklers? The accident happened on 7 May at 1991 at Kampung Baru, Sungai Buloh, which is at Selangor. At around 3:45 p.m., a new firework product was being tested. During the testing, some explosive chemicals spilled and caught fire. Then the fire spread to the firework that were stored nearby, and this caused a series of explosions. Okay, so let's see how serious the accident was. Um, um, as our far of our investigation or we find out the news, a total of 26 people died and 103 people were injured. More than 2,000 houses were also damaged because of the explosion. So we can see that the accident did not only affect the workers but also the people and properties around the factory. So um, the main lesson from this accident is the proper safety procedures, risk control, and emergency preparedness are very important to protect our workers and the surrounding community. So that's all for the introduction from me. Thank you.
Pada petang 7 Mei 1991, langit Sungai Buloh berubah menjadi hitam pekat. Dentuman demi dentuman menggegarkan bumi, menghamburkan api dan asap ke udara seperti kawasan perang. Dalam tempoh beberapa minit, sebuah kilang mercun yang terletak di kawasan perindustrian telah bertukar menjadi medan kemusnahan. Tragedi itu dikenali sebagai letupan Bright Sparkle, satu bencana yang merangkut nyawa, memusnahkan harta benda dan meninggalkan trauma berpanjangan dalam ingatan ramai.
Sungai Buloh diarah berpindah bagi mengelakkan kejadian lebih buruk akibat kebakaran besar di sebuah kilang mercun petang tadi.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Shaliza. My name is Tun Amala binti Zulkarnain. My metric number is 2251429. And today I will explain the escalation chain of the Bright Sparklers disaster. Okay, first of all, the incident started with the testing process, where a new firework product was being tested. Then a fire occurred and come into contact with hazardous chemicals, causing chemical ignition. And after that, the situation became more serious and led to an explosion. And the explosion triggered repeat explosions because there were many explosive and flammable materials in the factory. And as a result, there were casualties, and followed by several property damage. And finally, the disaster had a major impact on the surrounding community, including nearby residential area. Okay, so the escalation can be summarized as first of all, fire. First of all, testing, followed by fire, chemical ignition, explosion, repeated explosion, casualties, damage, and community impact. So, I can conclude that this shows how a small incident can quickly become a major disaster when hazardous material are not properly controlled. That's all for me.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nur Natasha binti Usman. My matrix number is 2251428. So next, I will explain the theory of the accident possession in the bright sparkle firework factory accident. So there is two theory are suitable for this case, which is the first one is the domino theory, and the second one the human factor theory. So both theories show that the accident was caused by several factors rather than just one. So the first one is the domino theory, which is the domino theory is introduced by H.W. Henrich. This theory explains that an accident happened through a chain of the event, such as dominoes falling one after another. So in the bright sparkle case, the testing of the new firework product was carried out near dry chemical. Spark and burning material came into the contact with the nearby chemical, causing a fire, then spread and result in the explosion. Therefore, if the hazard material had been properly separated or the testing had been carried out in a safer location, the chain of events could have been stopped earlier. Next is the human factor theory. This theory focuses on human error, poor decision, lack of awareness, decay training, and also failure to follow safety procedures. So in this case, testing a new firework product near combustable chemical create an unnecessary risk. It also shows that safety responsibility is not only on worker but also on management. Proper training, supervision, risk assessment, and safety procedures are important to prevent such an accident. So the comparison of the two theory is the main difference is that the domino theory focus on the sequence of event, while the human factor theory focus on the human decision and also the behavior. However, both theory are relevant because the bright sparkles accident involve unsafe condition as well as human factor.
Hi, my name is Nadia Humaira Bint Abdul Aziz and my metric number is 2251424. So for this part, I'm going to talk about the impact of the incidents. As we can see, the impact didn't only affect the company, but it also spread to the workers, individuals, and also the surrounding community and environment. So basically, one explosion can cause problem far beyond the company itself. For the human impact, there were 26 fatalities and also 103 injuries. The victim could suffer from things like burns, smoke inhalations, and also injuries from the blast. There can be also physiological effects like trauma, fears, and stress. For the family, losing a worker can also cause financial problem, especially when the person was the main source of income. The next is impact on the company. The company explosion caused a major damage to the factory, equipment, and raw materials, so the company had to stop its operation. They also had to deal with medical costs like compensation and repair costs. At the same time, companies' reputation could be affected because people may lose interest, trust, and also their trust in safety management. Lastly, the surrounding community was also affected, with more than 200 homes were destroyed. People could lose their homes, and the explosion also released smoke and toxic fumes into the environment. So overall, the main lesson is that an industrial explosion doesn't just affect the company, but it can also affect workers, family, community, and also the environment as well. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Rahari Mansa Representative. My register number is 3511434. Alright, right now we will talk about the fire and explosive hazard. The prevention is always better than reaction. Because once incident happen, we are no longer controlling the hazard. We are controlling the damage. Okay, so this section focuses on the three ignition and material control, workers' protections and practice, and emergency preparedness. Okay, let's start with the very one. Okay, ignition and material control. The first lines of defense is to make sure the fire does not get the opportunity to start. Under ignition protocol, smoking open flames and spark producing equipment are strictly prohibited in producing production stills. This is important because even a small ignition source can become a serious threat when flammable materials are present. Alright, next we talk about the segregation. Flammable and explosive material must be strictly isolated in dedicated areas and handled only by trained personnel. In simple terms, we will control what is stored, where is it stored, and who is allowed to handle it. Alright, then we have static mitigation and proper electrical grounding and bonding systems are used to prevent static electricity from producing sparks that could ignite pyrotechnic material. Moving to barriers to workers' protections and practice. Even when hazards are controlled, people remains our most important lines of defense. This is why workers must use proper PPE, including safety goggles, clothes, protective clothing, and also suitable footwear. Housekeeping is also essential because flammable waste and chemical remains must be continuously removed from active workspace. Okay, but PPE alone is not enough. Through regular training, workers learn to recognize hazard, follow safe operating procedures, and respond correctly during the emergency. Okay, finally, we talk about barrier 3. This is emergency preparedness. We must always prepare for the possibility that preventions may fail. This include proper infrastructures such as emergency exits, fire alarms, and clearly marked evacuation routes. Especially suspicions, equipment must also be accessible for chemical and pyrotechnic fire. Most importantly, regular emergency drills ensure that the workers does not freeze or panic, but know exactly what action to take. So if we look at the three barriers together, the principles is simple. First, prevent the fire. Okay, first, prevent the fire. Second, protect the people. And if prevention fails, be ready to respond. The eighth, purpose of effective preventions and control. That's all for me. Thank you.